June 18, 2013 meeting of the Downers Grove Village Council. It is my privilege to call this meeting to order as we reconvene into open session from our executive session earlier this evening. That's where we all were, for those of you who are wondering where the people were that were supposed to be up here at the meeting. Welcome to Village Hall. It is customary for us to have copies of our agenda on either side of the room. I see them up there on the shelves. If anyone would like to pick up a copy and follow along with our proceedings tonight, there will be multiple opportunities for public comment, both with respect to items that are on our agenda tonight as well as with respect to matters that are not on our agenda. And that will be item 4, public comments, items of a general nature. If there are any questions or comments of a general nature, that is the time when we will invite you up to share them with us. It is also customary for us to begin our meetings by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. So at this point in time, I would like everyone to please rise and join us in reciting the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And for the second time this evening, may I ask our fine village clerk, April Holden, to please call the roll.
Yes. Commissioner Jose?
Here.
Commissioner Olson?
Here.
Commissioner Rankin?
Here.
Commissioner Barnett?
Here.
Commissioner Newstead?
Here.
Commissioner Durkin?
Here.
Mayor Tully?
Here. Thank you very much. That brings us to item 3 on our agenda, minutes of past council meetings, where we review and consider and adopt, hopefully, minutes from other meetings. We have 2 on our agenda tonight for consideration and adoption. 1, our executive session minutes for approval only from our May 21st, 2013 executive session meeting, and also our regular council meeting minutes from our June 11th, 2013 meeting. Are there any questions or comments from any members of the council on any of those before I ask for a motion to approve? Any changes or corrections? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve both sets of minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Both those sets of minutes are approved as presented. Thank you. That now brings us to item 4 on our agenda, which is the segment of our meeting that is set aside for public comments with respect to matters not appearing on our agenda or general questions and comments. If anyone has questions or comments of a general nature, the protocol is to please come down to the podium, give us your name and address, and we look forward to hearing from you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Tully and Commissioners. Michael Casa, President of the Downers Grove Economic Development Corporation, 2001 Butterfield Road, Suite 120 in Downers Grove. We have 3 events that we're involved in the next week or so that I'd like to just tell you about. The first is that we're going to hold our first ever annual luncheon on June 26th at the Doubletree Hotel. And pleased that our keynote speaker will be James Skogsberg, the President and CEO of Advocate Healthcare. And as you know, Advocate not too long ago announced that they were moving their corporate headquarters to Downers Grove. In addition, we're going to have a presentation from Mayor Tully, and I'll be delivering my annual report. We expect a good turnout at the event, and both from the private sector as well from members of the local government. And so look forward to seeing you there. The second event that we've been involved in is the one I believe that you've heard about, which is the Illinois Chiefs of Police Association annual conference, which is being held on June 21st at the Doubletree. Our Visitors Bureau has had a role in working with Chief Porter and the association. We are preparing all the registration bags for the conferees and others that are attending. That those bags will include not only some gift items and other things about Downers Grove, but also there are discounts to our restaurants and our shops and to our golf course, and other information about things to do and see in Downers Grove. Secondly, we helped arrange for those attending the conference, the spouses and guests of the conferees, to attend Grove Fest on Saturday, June 22nd. And so we expect there's going to be a shuttle bus that's going to go from the Doubletree to the downtown, and then be able to come back and pick up those folks. So have a chance to have many of the people attending that conference see our downtown and our biggest event of the year. And third, we're sponsoring a giveaway on the Saturday night at the Saturday night banquet. Mayor Tully will be announcing one lucky attendee who's going to win some downtown dollars, $100 worth. So hopefully they'll come back to Downers Grove and have a chance to visit our downtown and spend some money there. And speaking of Grove Fest, we will be there on Friday helping man a special tent, an information tent for the Visitors Bureau to distribute literature so that people who are new to our community are visiting the event, to let them know about all the things there is to see and do in Downers, especially in the downtown during that weekend. I think that's it, Mayor.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Castle. Always a
Thank you.
pleasure to see you.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments of a general nature? Good evening, welcome.
Hi, how you doing? Michelle Shelley from 6215 Pershing Avenue in Downers Grove. I have a comment about my water. I noticed on the 1st of this month that I smelled a strong scent of bleach. And I don't know if it's true or not, but ever since we had city water, I heard that once a month they chlorinate and send it out. I don't know. So, you know, when I've smelled it, you're like, oh, it must be time. And this time it's already the 18th and it's still there. Now I have a brand new faucet in my kitchen. I have a brand new dishwasher, so it's not coming from there. I also checked the bathroom as well. So I was wondering if it had anything to do with the new lining in the water tower.
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I'm just, you know, bringing it to your attention.
Thank you
and-
for bringing it to our attention. I'm sure that since we have your
Because
name and
it's very
address.
strong still. Like I said, when I only notice it
Sure.
when I say feel something like my coffee pot, you know, and you're standing there and you're like, oh, and then you go back and it's gone. You know, you wouldn't smell it in the.
I understand what you're talking about completely, having lived in 4 different places in Downers Grove. That does occasionally happen, and I'm sure
Yep.
we can ask someone from our water department to get in touch with you and see if there was something
Okay.
going on that might have something to do with that.
All right, and I did ask a few neighbors, and of course, the 3 that I talked to, 2 of them have filters on their house, and the other one drinks bottled water. So I'm still waiting here. But I just figured I would, you know, let you guys know because it's been 18 days after
Sure,
the
no,
fact.
thank you for
It's-
bringing it to our attention. We'll have the water department get in touch with you.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for listening.
Our pleasure. Other questions or comments of a general nature? Any questions or comments with respect to items not appearing on our agenda tonight? Hearing none, that brings us to a newly advanced on the agenda, council member reports. We're going to try something new, as was announced last week. Typically, we do council member reports with respect to events in town, good news items and things of that nature at the end of our meeting. It was pointed out by Commissioner Neustadt that sometimes at the end of our meetings, there's fewer people in the audience than are here at the beginning of the meeting. On that note, half the room is clearing out. So it might be the reports and not the placement on the agenda, but we'll find out. The goal is to keep this very brief as an admonition to my colleagues, collectively 5 minutes or less. Hopefully my introduction to the topic will be much longer than what I'm actually going to say as my part. But why don't we go ahead and try that? So thank you for the suggestion, Commissioner. Commissioner Jose.
I have no report, Mayor.
Well, very brief. Commissioner Rankin.
I have no report either.
Commissioner Durkin.
Ditto.
Commissioner Barnett.
I have no report.
Commissioner Olson.
I do have a report, Mayor.
5 minutes or less, not 20 minutes, let's make that.
2 5Ks, well, actually 2 runs in the community, both this weekend. First, the Run for Rwanda 5K at McCollum Park, 8 o'clock on Saturday. And second, the Downers Grove 5-miler run starting at Lincoln Center at 7:30 on Sunday. So go to Grove Fest, enjoy that, and get your run in and physical fitness so then you can eat some good food at our local vendors afterwards. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Very crisp. Commissioner Neustadt.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to all of our colleagues for allowing this change in the agenda. I think it'll be beneficial when we do have some larger crowds. One quick thing, last Friday I was able to attend the grand opening of Dream Interiors, a long-standing business in our downtown. They have certainly reinvested in a beautiful old building right there on Main Street. They are in the upstairs portion now, still providing interior design and decorating opportunities for patrons. It was a really nice way to see Dream Interiors still thrive while actually allowing for some new stores to take place on the ground floor of Main Street, again in that historic old Mokel hardware building. So congratulations to the Cullens and Dream Interiors for their grand reopening. That's all I have tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I will say ditto. I wasn't able to attend the ribbon cutting, but I was at the event they had the evening before, so I was able to see the space and wish them much success in their new configuration. The only thing I will say, well, of course, it's already been said by Mr. Casa, is that there are, in fact, 2 days, just 2 days left until Rotary Grove Fest, when the streets of Downers Grove become the best street festival in the Midwest, hands down. So come on down, see your friends and neighbors, enjoy the 3 stages of music. I'm certain that all of us will be there at some point in time throughout the multi-day event. Particularly on Sunday, you'll be able to find me at the car show during the trophy presentation ceremony, and also will be assisting in the beer garden as part of that on Sunday afternoon. So think of it as sort of a roving coffee with the council, if you will. If you have any comments or questions, we'll be around. So we're looking forward to lots of fun. And I don't know if I'm going to do those back-to-back runs, Commissioner Olson, but I'm certainly going to try. I'm definitely going to be in the 5-miler because by then I'll need one. That's all I have. Good job on timing. Well, that brings us to item 6, public hearings. We have no public hearings tonight, so we'll move right to item 7, which is our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to any of the items on the consent agenda? Hearing none. Questions or comments from members of the council? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Neustadt?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. Consent agenda passes unanimously. That brings us to the end of our consent agenda and on to item 8, which is our active agenda. We have 3 items on the active agenda tonight, although I will be asking for a motion to table item 8C when we get there. We'll begin with item 8A. Do I have a motion to adopt an ordinance amending provisions for the administration of electrical testing?
Mayor Tully, I move to adopt an ordinance amending provisions for the administration of electricians testing as presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments from members of the audience on this topic? Questions or comments from members of the council? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Neustadt?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. Matter passes unanimously. That brings us to item 8B as in boy. Do I have a motion to authorize $36,776.40 for membership dues for the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference for fiscal year 2013 to 2014?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments from members of the audience with respect to this item? Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, staff. Tom LeCren, 545 Chicago Avenue. I just want a clarification of the comment I made last week. I'd asked for, per the minutes, it appears that the DMMC did not oppose the new bill that allows DuPage County to implement a stormwater utility. They only tried to amend it. Is that your understanding as well, Mr. Tully?
My understanding is that they were in support of with the amendment.
With the amendment?
Yes,
Without
the
it
amendment
being-
would have required a referendum.
Okay. And since it hasn't been implemented yet, is it a possibility that the people of Downers Grove could hit it twice?
Not if we can help it. And through both, or well, obviously we're dealing with the county and dealing with the state. So we've got to take everything with not a grain of salt, but maybe a block of salt. But I can guarantee you that our staff here, Commissioner Rankin, Commissioner Jose, and myself, and I'm sure everyone else would have made it if they could have been there. We're already at a meeting that was put on by Senator Sanger and Representative Sandak and Tony Charlton from the county, whose staff on the county stormwater management branch of the county with respect to what it is that they're doing, where they're going with it, and they have committed to take public comment from everyone, including municipalities, school districts, sanitary districts, whomever might be affected by it, before to do 2 things. 1, whether they're going to do anything, and then number 2, if so, in what way, shape, or form. The questions were uniform across the board by everyone, no matter what organization they were with, that they wanted to make sure there was that level of involvement and engagement before anything was done. And I specifically put my hand up and said, well, big concern to Downers Grove is obviously, and in fact, Downers Grove was singled out during the presentation as someone who already has a stormwater utility, and therefore, under no circumstances should any of our residents be hit twice for the same thing. And we were at least told at that point in time that is one of the clearly understood issues that they want to make sure they navigate around in addition to all the others. I know that through DuPage Mayors and Managers leadership, both their staff and their leadership has been in constant contact with Chairman Cronin's office to make sure that he makes good, as I fully expect he will, on his commitment that he will be fully engaged with all municipalities and other affected organizations with respect to, again, those two key questions. One, is the county going to do anything in terms of a stormwater utility? And if so, what will it look like and how will it affect the entire county? That's what I know as of today.
Okay, one last question, just hypothetically. Let's say they imposed it on Downers Grove and we were hit twice. Would we have any legal relief possibility?
I don't know, again, because it would depend on what it was they were presenting, and we would want to assess that creature in order to answer the question. Hypothetically, certainly we would, I'm certain, we would take whatever measures we thought we could and would be appropriate to make sure that our residents were not paying twice for the same service
Same thing.
or capital investment. I mean, that just makes no sense.
Thank you.
That's certainly, I don't think, anyone's intention. You're welcome. At least not here. Thank you. Other questions or comments on this item from any members of the audience? Questions or comments from members of the village council? I know we had an extensive discussion on this last week. Commissioner Barnett, who was not here last week.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move to make an amendment to the motion presented tonight. I move to amend, there's not a number on this, is there? Okay. I move to amend the motion as it relates.
00-05264.
What am I missing it? Thank you. 00-06254 to add the following words after the final number 0. Add the following words. With the following set of exceptions assumed to form part of the basis of future considerations of continued participation by the Village of Downers Grove. A, identify and assess options for potential operational and capital changes aimed at minimizing membership dues while retaining high membership value and organizational performance. B, identify a plan for and demonstrate progress toward a material increase in future revenues from sources other than direct member community contributions. C, develop website economic communication processes, electronic communication processes allowing for web searchable documents of all non-proprietary, non-closed session documents and minutes, as well as a structured communication program with all member community elected officials. D, provide an annual state of the COG report, including significant achievements, CAFRs, and future strategic plan with multi-year components. E, establish a government consolidation and overhead reduction program group. And F, establish an annual member survey designed to gather information about best practices, salary structures, labor agreement resolutions, innovations, or initiatives such as electric aggregation, etc., to also be online and searchable by member organizations.
Second.
Thank you. Actually, before a second, I was going to ask, could you reread the preface to those items? Not all the items, but just the
I will.
preface, please. I'm not sure I heard it.
I'll read the motion as it would appear amended up until the item list. Motion to renew FY 2013-2014 membership for the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference and authorize staff to submit dues in the amount of $36,776.40 with the following set of expectations assumed to form part of the basis of future consideration of continued participation by the Village of Downers Grove. And then the list.
My only question on that would be if we could begin that process with the 2015-2016 membership renewal period. Would you accept a friendly amendment to your motion?
I excluded that from what I read because the wording was intended to not be terribly binding. It was intended to compel discussion about whether or not there seems to be effort and progress towards these kinds of things. And so if that starts, sooner rather than later, I don't know that it impedes our continued organizational involvement down the road. And so I'd prefer it this way. I'm not going to get in the way of somebody else proposing an amendment to the amendment. But the wording ahead of that to form part of the basis of future consideration was selected pretty intentionally.
Okay, and there's a second. So is there any discussion with respect to the amendment to the motion? Commissioner Newstead.
Just a kind of a point of clarification, if Commissioner Barnett could then provide that to the staff so they can amend that to the minutes.
Absolutely.
I know it's sometimes a little hard to hear.
Absolutely.
Bob and I have talked about this. I will not be in support of the amendment. I think it has good intentions to try to place very specific outcomes on our membership within the organization. I think Mayor Tully and Commissioner Durkin both asked for that last week, and we came up with some ideas of things to offer to Mayor Tully and Manager Fieldman to take forward to their executive positions at mayors and managers I've given those, my considerations for that, so I won't be in support of this amendment. I appreciate the ability for Commissioner Barnett to try to come up with a way to find some expectations and set some goals for our membership. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Olson?
I support Commissioner Barnett's amendment. I think it's a good way that we can outline some of our expectations here for the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference. As Commissioner Barnett mentioned in his statement, we don't have to say, oh, check each of these 6 things occurred. But if there's progress being made towards some of these objectives, this is a starting point of the basis of future evaluations, as the motion states. And I think it's important that we do have these documented, that we have these publicly available for our residents, that we have these publicly available for the other members of DMMC, and for the council and future councils to take a look at these items that we were specifically considering. They may change in the future, and I'm certainly open to that, but I think this is a good way that we can get these items specifically within that motion and communicated to the community, communicated to DMMC in a written, clear form. So I support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Jose?
Thank you, Mayor. I support this in concept, and I appreciate Commissioner Barnett bringing these forward, because I like the idea of attaching them to the motion. I like each and every one of these ideas. I just would like to see the 2-year time horizon. I think it's important that if we're going to take the leadership role that is before us, that we take it and grab hold of it and not run into a situation where a year from now, if some or all of these are not necessarily in the state that we would like to see them moving forward, even if it's some progress, but not a great amount of measurable progress, that we decide to pull the plug then. So I think we can accomplish the goals that Commissioner Olson was talking about in terms of laying these out to DuPage mayors and managers and having them in front of them in a clear, concise format, but at the same time have that 2-year window to allow us to really achieve meaningful progress on them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Rankin?
Yes. I think it's important. I support the amendment. I think it's important to provide a concrete list of tasks that the Village of Downers Grove would like to see DMMC complete in the next 2 years. It gives us an opportunity to look back and see if changes did indeed occur. I'm still not sure if we're going to receive enough value to justify the investment, but I will support the amendment.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Durkin?
Yeah, thank you. You know, that's a valid point and comment that Commissioner Rankin had made. But I also feel that this is probably the first time in history of the DMMC that there's a municipality who's given them a solid direction. So I think we will see this, and I think we will see the results that we're asking for. And I commend Commissioner Barnett for bringing this forward. And I would not have an issue to go for 2 years. I see the value with that. But I don't know if we actually need a motion to do that or how we would do that. But I don't, if it's something that we would need to do, I would support that. But I think we can accomplish this with just the 1 year as well. Because you're coming in as the future, next president, if all goes well, Mayor. I think they'll realize the importance and the significance of these listed items. So that's all I have.
Thank you. With respect to the amendment, I also support it because, candidly, these are things we talked about, we wanted to try to accomplish as part of our new leadership role in the organization anyway. And I appreciate Commissioner Barnett being open-minded to it and hopefully being able to lend his support to the amended motion to continue our membership, with the expectation that there's some pretty clear guidance of some additional, obviously the organization already has a lot of things that it already wants to achieve, and Downers Grove is one of 33 municipalities, so we can't dictate our will upon everybody else. We have to, guess what? Communicate, cooperate, and collaborate in order to get things done, which I think we can. I think these are all fair points. And again, I think these are goals that we should definitely try to accomplish through our participation. And as members, we will have the opportunity and the calling to serve on the different committees to assist in making progress towards these goals. So I look at these goals that are part of the amendment to be really something that's incumbent upon all 7 of us to try to work towards over the next year. I realize that whether we said 2 years or 1 year, we're going to have an opportunity we'd have to vote on this next year anyway in terms of renewed membership. So my only comment about the 2 years was I didn't want this to be viewed as some sort of a punch list of items that had to be achieved in the what's now less than a year of time we'll be talking about it, when we're not even in the full driver's seat yet. Let's give peace a chance, so to speak. But I'm hearing from my colleagues that the expectation is it's not a punch list, but this is a clearly delineated list of goals. We want to make sure that this time next year, when we're considering this, as we clearly could anyway, even without the amendment, what progress have been made towards the things that we want to achieve as part of our, not only our membership, but also our leadership role, enhanced leadership role in the organization. So understanding that the intent and purpose here is not for it to be some kind of a punch list, but factors that we will look at next year with the expectation that as long as we're making some progress, we will continue, because I think it's really that next year when we're going to have the peak opportunity to be able to achieve these things is my real point. Then I think I'm okay with the amendment as was worded by Commissioner Barnett. So I would support the amendment. Commissioner Barnett?
Let me just speak to one thing you mentioned, Mayor. You appropriately used the phrase that it's incumbent on all of us. And that was no small part of the point of this. What I've tried to do is listen. I certainly, as anyone that follows this subject or this council for a while knows, I've been generally opposed to DMMC membership. And what I was trying to do was focus on those things that those of us that were opposed found, bothersome about process. I don't think anybody has ever said from this dais that there's no value whatsoever in collective advocacy and peer groups and the like. And so this is an attempt at trying, hopefully, to get more than 4 of us as representatives of the Village of Downers Grove to jump into this thing and say we're kind of committed. And here's some things that I heard expressed by various colleagues on and off over the last certainly several weeks or several years, depending on which time frame you're looking at. But these are some of the things that have weighed on various folks who were in the negative on DMMC. And so I'm hopeful that the result will be a stronger message to DMMC that we're all in, or mostly in, and hopefully it'll also be a sort of a stronger self-check about participating and trying to make sure that we're doing our part to facilitate the changes that we talk about. So hopeful my colleagues will join me in this.
Thank you. Other questions or comments on the amendment? Any questions or comments from the audience with respect to the amendment? Do you want to foreclose your opportunity? In that case, I would like to ask for a roll call with respect to the motion to amend the motion that's on the table, please.
Motion to amend. Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Neustadt?
Nay.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. The motion to amend motion 00-05264 passes by a margin of 6-1. Now, are there any further questions or comments with respect to the motion as amended? Any questions or comments from the audience with respect to the motion as amended? We'll give you all kinds of opportunities. Commissioner Neustadt.
Thank you, Mayor. As it appears that this is going to pass, which, is how it has been the last few years, I think it's important to note, as we've already done tonight, that this council lives by our vote. It's very important that we all support the will of the council. And to the best of my ability, I will do what I can to offer my suggestions and my experiences with two-page mayors and managers. I know that they have, I am actually assigned currently to a couple of their committees, and I will try to make those meetings and working with the Vice President and Manager Fieldman, perhaps try to make them so we don't have multiple council members invited to one meeting, so we won't have the Illinois Open Meetings Act afflicted upon us at a Mayors and Managers Conference meeting. So I look forward to Dave and Martin's leadership, and I hope that they will work very hard to bring this message that we are about to deliver to mayors and managers to them. and I am hopeful that mayors and managers will welcome it with open arms. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Commissioner. Commissioner Olson?
Wanted to comment on this since I didn't comment at great length last week. I'm in support of this item and even more strongly in support given Commissioner Barnett's amendment that was just approved. I think it's important that we as a council, we as a municipality are engaged through both formal and informal channels with our peer municipalities within the county. And I think the DMMC is one formal way in which we can effectively engage with those municipalities, both in legislative advocacy, intergovernmental cooperation. And I think the points that we've approved, amended to the motion, will give us metrics that we can assess how effective this group is being. Because I don't think we are the only community in DuPage County that's a member of this group that wants to see this group become more effective, become more cost efficient. I would imagine, and I can't say for certain, that Mayor Pradel and Naperville would like to see this organization become more effective, because this organization would then benefit all communities more. So I look forward to that. I think that we have the opportunity to change the organization. We have the opportunity to benefit the organization through our leadership and our participation. And I think our leadership, by providing these points to the organization, let alone setting aside the mayor's vice presidency, I think providing these expectations to the organization is a positive step. So I look forward to supporting this. I look forward to participating in DMMC as I can, and I look forward for Downers Grove to continue to take a leadership role among our peer municipalities in the county. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments from the council? I won't repeat what I said last week with respect to the base motion, but I also don't want it to be thought that I somehow think the organization is dysfunctional or in need of repair, or somehow there's no value and we're going to come in like the Man of Steel and fix everything. I don't think that's the case at all. I think that there already is a significant amount of value. I think we've benefited from it, that the organization functions as well as you can have 33 governments in the same room function. But this community has demanded more, and I think we can deliver more. And so I'm fully on board with seizing the role, the leadership opportunity that's been presented to us, and seeing what additional value that we can garner, not just for ourselves, but for DuPage, because, again, the necessity of collaboration and cooperation with other municipalities and other taxing bodies is, without a doubt, an absolute necessity, beyond question. And so I think this is something that we owe it to ourselves and to the region to do in order to be the municipal leaders that we are proud of being. But to the extent that we can demand more, as we should, I think we should seize the opportunity to see what we can deliver in terms of more. And I'm glad to work with all of you to do that, because it really is about seizing an opportunity, is what it is in my view. Looking forward, not necessarily looking behind. And I will be talking to all of you about the committees. And we'll work out so that everyone can participate, because we've sort of been holding that in abeyance until we got this worked out here at home. That's all I have. So with that, then, do I have a can I have a roll call on the motion as amended, please?
Motion as amended. Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Nay.
Commissioner Newstead?
Nay.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. The matter passes 5-2. That brings us then to item 8C on our agenda, which is a motion to accept an update to the bicycle and pedestrian plan. For reasons that we'll explain shortly, I'm going to ask for a motion to table this item until a date uncertain.
So moved.
Second.
I'll have an opportunity for public comment in a second, but let me just ask for any questions or comments from the village council. In which case, I just wanted to explain that Commissioner Barnett had some questions and comments that he wanted to contribute to this proposal. Didn't have the opportunity to do so last week. As a courtesy, we'd like to give him the opportunity to do it. There's some other issues or questions came up from members of the council. We may deal with those. This matter will be coming back. It's not time sensitive, and yet we understand its importance to the community. So this is not being tabled for a date to never come. We just want to make sure that we have the full input and the benefit of discussion of the entire council. So that's the reason why we're simply going to table this to another date when we don't have an executive session and long-range financial planning and other things going on. So stay tuned. But for those of you that came for this, thank you. It'll provide more opportunity for input. So is there any questions from the audience with respect to the motion to table? Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Tully, commissioners and staff. I'm Gordon Goodman. I live at 5834 Midaw. And I just was hoping that I could get a little more clarification about what might be entailed. Is it that you think that at the council level now, working with the staff, you would be making adjustments in the plan before you adopt it? If that's the case, I think you should send it back to your reviewing committee. And I understand that this plan, although it did get reviewed by the commission, the Traffic and Parking Commission, in its final form, it hasn't yet gone to them. So I'm hoping that as you look at this, you'll clarify the procedure by which you want input, and also try to understand whether you're going to make adjustments at the council level that haven't been reviewed by the people that you chose to review this. So I'm a little confused by this procedure, and I hope maybe you won't be able to clarify it tonight, but in a future meeting, you'll explain what this delay means. I understand that you're not putting it off indefinitely to avoid acting on it, but I think we need a little more clarity about what you are doing tonight.
Well, thank you for that question, and literally all we're doing tonight is just deferring it to another date for further discussion. We had a workshop meeting on it last time. We did not have the benefit of all the commissioners for their discussion, which I think not only is a courtesy to the commissioner who wasn't here, but also the rest of us who would like to hear the questions and comments. But there were some other questions that just came up with respect to status and other aspects from members of the council after that first reading. And just given the other items on the agenda tonight, given that this isn't it's important, but it's not urgent, whether it's this week or next week, we wanted to make sure everybody had the opportunity to address those things. I don't know if there are any specific line item changes. In fact, I'm not aware of any, but I wanted to give everyone, and we collectively want to give everyone the opportunity to have that discussion if necessary. It may be as simple a matter as we just put it on agenda in the future and we're at where we would have been tonight. I don't know yet, but we'll certainly have another public discussion of that before we do anything, if that helps to lessen the confusion. But fair question. Any other questions or comments from members of the audience with respect to the motion to table? We've had amendments, we've had motions to table. It's been a procedural festival tonight. Roll call then, please.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Newstead?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. The matter is tabled to a date uncertain, and we will provide some updated information as to when we will be considering that again, because I know there are people in the audience that have long expressed an interest in this topic, and I'm sure we'll make sure that there's advance notification of when we'll be taking it up again. Thank you for your patience. That brings us to the end of our active agenda and brings us to item 9 on our agenda, which is our first reading, or the workshop portion of our agenda, where we consider items for discussion purposes only and potential action at a future point in time. We have one item on our first reading agenda tonight, 9A, and as tradition dictates, I will turn the meeting over for presentation of this item to Village Manager David Fieldman.
And I will immediately turn it over to our Public Works Director, Nan Newland, for presentation of the only item on tonight's first reading agenda.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A motion is requested to award a contract for the Sterling Road Storm Sewer Project to Archon Construction Company of Addison, Illinois, in the amount of $261,464.40. The scope of the work includes the installation of a storm sewer and catch basins on Sterling Road between 1st Street and 40th Street, as generally shown on this location map here in the northeast quadrant of the village.
The proposed storm sewer will drain an area of Sterling Road that currently drains to an old 8-inch clay drain tile that runs through private properties located on Sterling Road and Glendenning Road. The existing drain tile, which is in very poor condition, surcharges frequently and causes erosion and yard flooding in these lots. The new storm sewer will restore drainage to the right-of-way, which will decrease the frequency of flooding and erosion on these properties. The project was included in the Community Investment Plan for construction in the year 2014. However, because of street maintenance work that's scheduled on Sterling Road this year, staff is recommending moving it up to this year concurrent with the road work. A call for bids was issued and 2 bids were received. Staff recommends award of this contract to Archon Construction, who was the low bidder. They have satisfactorily completed projects of similar scope for the communities of Westmont, Palatine, Countryside, and the Downers Grove Sanitary District. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the project.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from members of the audience with respect to this item? Questions or comments from members of the Village Council? Commissioner Olson?
Just a quick question on this. The road work you mentioned on Sterling Road, is that road work coming out of a separate fund? That's not coming out of the stormwater fund, is that correct?
Correct. That's part of our road street maintenance program.
Okay, so only the stormwater portion of this project, which is this reconstruction of this storm sewer, that would come from the stormwater fund. The street reconstruction comes from the street maintenance fund.
Correct.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Very short first reading. Thank you very much. That ends our first reading and brings us to item 10, the mayor's report. I have no report tonight. That brings us to village manager Fieldman's report. Item 11.
No report tonight, Mayor.
That brings us to item 12, village attorney Enzo Petrarca's report.
No report, Mayor.
And that brings us to item 13, new business. Do any council members have any items of new business to present to the council? Hearing no items of new business, we are at the end of our agenda. I will ask for a motion to adjourn next door to begin our long-range planning meeting, which will be held in the committee room, and would encourage all of you who are here in the audience to, of course, come next door and participate in the goings-on.
Mayor Tully, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Neustadt?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Olson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. The televised portion of our meeting is adjourned. We are moving next door to discuss long-range financial planning. Thank you and good night. See you at Grove Fest.